Hey, welcome to the Enhance Your World show. I am your host, Chris Alba. Larkin will be joining us shortly, any minute now. So, welcome to the show for today. Today's topic is the misunderstandings and missteps of manifesting. And, it's fun when we have these spirals or these reflections of um, the steps that we've taken to get to where we've gotten. And the industry tells us, you know, more, and that's the consumption of industry. From my awareness, manifesting is the absolute presence of now, which includes the breath. That's why there's abundance of possibilities. And I remember when I first started this show back in 2016, I had a guest, Harold, Harold from the Love Foundation, and he had made a statement like, if you don't have gratitude for this moment, you can't have it in the next one, because this is the moment that everything is manifested from, everything is cultivated from. And between our beliefs and our behaviors creates the belonging in our life to what things are in harmony with or out of harmony with. We talk a lot about that in the show. We try not to get judgmental and use terms such as right or wrong, because it's been, in my experience, a lot of things that at one time I thought were right turned out to be wrong later on in life, or vice versa. And that leaves a lot of grieving and a lot of reconciliation that we have to do within ourselves, to forgive ourselves, to understand we were doing the best that we could with what we were aware of at the time, the resources that we were capable of. And if that's true for us, then it has to be true for other folks as well beyond our being. And that's where um, peace can kind of get boring and harmony can kind of get boring. So then we start to see the reflections of things that we don't like, because that gives our mind something to focus on. It takes our attention. That's part of our conditioning, through the generations of thinking that life happens outside of us, where we cultivate life within us, and then it's an expression outwardly, and what's outwardly will reflect what's inwardly. That way, when people, for example, um, go through challenging circumstances or certain things, they become a higher version of themselves outside of the thing. If the thing is the most important or has the most meaning, if it gets stolen, if it gets lost, if it breaks, if there's a new update or something like that, then what's the value of that thing? Because it's no longer as valuable as it once was before. Those are some of the things that, you know, I want to share about this topic, and a little brag on my son for what he's going through right now. A few weeks ago, uh, his mom's car got broken into and his laptop got stolen. And over the weekend, he created an arrangement with my dad, um, to where he could acquire him a new laptop. And um, we were talking, look at how that had to happen for you, because when the laptop was stolen, of course, he was like, I'm okay. Like, it's a bummer, but, I got other things I can do. No big deal. And just adjusted. There wasn't any resistance in it. And rather than sitting in the victim mentality or poor me or anything like that. He got creative, created a plan, implemented that plan, and acquired a new laptop, better than the one that he had previously, of course, because that's how technology works. It's the consumption. It's always consuming the old versions, because if it's not the latest and greatest, then it's not going to be as good, right? And that creates a sense of urgency and a sense of belonging and a sense of pride that you have made it to whatever that is. So um, that's what I find hilarious when we talk about manifesting. Is it's who we become while we're going through the experience of life, is the true value and worth of the life that we're experiencing. The things, the people, the places, all the things externally from us are just temporary, um, even if it's a long term life thing. Or I should have this body for this life, and then after this life, I'll be released from this physical form into the ethers, and all the cool stories about consciousness, and all the things beyond being human. I'll get to have those experiences again, because that's where we all come from, whatever that source is. You can label it, you can define it, you can say you understand it and you know it, but if you're sitting here in physical form, you've only got a sip. Personally speaking, committed suicide, lots of different experiences. They're just sips, because if it wasn't just a sip, I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't still have purpose here or calling here in this 3D reality of duality of cause and impact. And that's what the value of our relationships are. So we get to learn through the lenses of how others are, who they choose to become, who they choose to be, based on what they've experienced. And that gives us the ability to be aware of other ways beyond what we've known, beyond our stories, beyond what we've been told, beyond what we've thought, beyond what we've experienced. And that allows us to evolve and enhance the relationships that we have within ourselves, within humanity, and with our natural planet, because we all share this one planet together. There are religions and classes and races and all those things, all those boxes only help divide us by our minds. We all share the same breath, and we all share the same exhale, just different places and time. I see Larkin's here, but I don't see Larkin.
Beautifully said, Chris. I'm listening. I'm just waiting for my dad's occupational therapist who announced that she's coming at 2:15. So then I'm walking around, so then I'll turn my camera on. But I love what you're talking about. That's so beautifully said, and such a good example with your son.
Right? It was
experience.
And it was really awesome sitting around and having coffee with my dad today, talking about like how proud he was of how we helped cultivate this human being and the way he handled himself. And he didn't even finish all the tasks that, it's a laptop. So my dad didn't just say, just do this few things. He gave him a list of things that he needed to do, and he didn't get them all done this weekend. And so he wanted to show his mom that he got the laptop, because he had he was excited about it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he was like, I'm not going to take this home, Grandpa, because I haven't fully earned it yet. So it will be here at Dad's house until I fully earn it. And then I'll feel like I should, then I feel like it's mine and I can take it to my mom's house. But until then, and my dad tried to give him the out, and he was like, nope. A deal's a deal, and I haven't fulfilled my end. And so I'm not
That's
gonna do it.
amazing.
Yeah, and at 15, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
No, I mean, it's really good discernment because, decades ago, that would have been the type of thing that a lot of kids chose. A lot of people were raised that way, like in my grandfather's and my great grandfather's day.
Right.
But nowadays, take what you can get, take the freebie, I mean, you're in my generation was all about being taught to get away with whatever we could get away with.
Right.
The Breakfast Club. I mean, come on. And so after that, it's just sort of gone downhill. And some of us had some discrepancy of that, but if you're not taught that, a lot of people don't have it. So that's really impressive for his generation and his age.
Yeah, and it was fun because we got to talk about, because he asked me like what, my grandparents used to do, and it was like, well, back when I was a kid, 25 cents got you something. So like,
Yeah.
it's definitely not, $100 an hour or whatever it's going to work out to be in your favor if you're going to quantify it by that. But
Right.
back in the day, we would get those small little coffee cans. I don't remember how big they were, but the little Folgers cans, I remember.
Right. Yeah.
And my grandfather would pay me $0.25 per can to pick up acorns. And we would spend all day, like 8 hours. Hey, Brenda, picking up acorns all day.
Yeah, you really learn patience.
Well, like it was funny. Like when we were sharing yesterday, we were like, well, maybe that was kind of exploitive because he would have paid the landscaping guys that were way more. But we were cheap labor, and we were excited to be able to go get some candy at the end of the day because that was our treat. We would earn the money, and then they would take us to the store to spend the money. It wasn't.
Right.
It wasn't you got to save up your retirement account or anything like that. You're a kid, have fun with it, like enjoy life, like.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that actually, you do get something out of that because you're creating pathways in your brain, neurological pathways and habits that, we really underestimate this now. When you do those types of things as a kid and you're not getting immediate gratification, things take a while, you're not being automatically rewarded like you are now. You build habits, pathways, expectations, and brain patterns, neurological brain patterns that help you get through things when you have to do things like that. Mm-hmm. When you're in situations where you have to wait, so many months for some big financial thing to go through, or a difficult process, or waiting for a job, or being patient and working your way up for something. There's just things we get out of living in a lot of the ways that we now refer to as old-fashioned that served us. And, I know today we're talking about manifesting, but since we're discussing this, I just want to remind everyone, I haven't said this in a long time, and I always say it on my coaching broadcasts, not so much my psychic broadcasts, but our brain, the speed of our brain and our emotional processes, because as Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches, emotion is the mind and the body. That hasn't changed. In tens of thousands of years, it has been that way for us. And no matter how fast technology gets, no matter how much information we can process more quickly, if you read Pride and Prejudice, you see how people used to enjoy that. I mean, I loved reading that book. It would take something that would maybe take a quarter of a page now and put into 5 chapters. And people are like, oh my God, it took them so long to have that conversation. But the truth is that emotionally, we process more slowly. And so if you're doing something like helping your grandparent pick up pine needles, maybe, and it takes you all day, it doesn't mean you can't do other things more quickly, but it does mean we're programming ourselves on a different level, on an emotional level. And the big gap I see people have, they don't understand, is that you can understand something intellectually immediately, but it doesn't mean you know it emotionally. So if I'm coaching someone in relationships, for example, and I'm teaching them how to say no, or how to notice the addiction type they have and the type of people that they choose. They can learn that in one session.
Mm-hmm.
But emotionally, if they are hardwired to choose a type of person that's going to cause them trauma or that's going to abuse them, they will still do that, because we have to process it and learn it emotionally first, and that takes longer. So I just think it's important to throw out there, even, no matter how many people get to hear that, because it's not something we're taught, and then we wonder why we have trouble changing our habits.
Well, it's the same thing within too, right? Like not just our external relationships.
Well, it's with everything. It works
right,
with
right.
everything.
Like I was just sharing a story with a practitioner this morning. We're so blessed to be in the day and age where we can virtually go anywhere, speak to anyone, and have information at our fingertips by just being curious. Like that's amazing. However, the challenge being is then the integration part. Like if we wanted to learn a lot of these topics that we talk about, just for an example, Buddhism, you want to learn another lineage of Buddhism, you would have had to travel months, if not years, to another temple to be able to acquire that knowledge, because there was only one or two books with that acquired knowledge in it, because they had to handwrite it. There was no printing press. There was no helicopters. There was no planes or anything to be able to move as fast as we can now with technology. And part of what I think the reason that there's this huge surge of going back to nature's medicine or nature's path or studying the indigenous is it's more of a feminine energy about how we relate and why do we relate, rather than how do we do this in the most efficient, effective way, because that matters more than the impact that we have.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Oh,
like,
yeah. No,
there's so many people like, well, I don't care what it takes as long as I get what I want. And then something happens to them and they get all butthurt. Well, there's your law of attraction. Like you're learning what that feels like to not care about how you're hurting somebody else or how you're hurting the planet or whatever. And those are our wake up calls. And if we're not grateful or appreciative or abundant or whatever keyword someone wants to say about themselves in the moment, if they're not actually in that vibration internally, aligned in their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, they're going to have contrast or shadow or an unexpected circumstance show up that's going to help teach us how to be patient, how to be understanding, how to be compassionate, how to be forgiving, how to be human, and it's like, it's so refreshing to be able to talk to people and be like, please just be human with me. Like we can talk about all the stories, we can share all this cool information, but like if something comes up, if you have an issue, don't be afraid to acknowledge it, because then we can actually move through it with conscious awareness. If you hold it back and I feel that you're not in alignment because you're afraid of saying something because how it's going to make you look or how it's going to make you feel, or maybe you project that onto me and I'm going to take it in a bad way, or I'm going to think less of you, or whatever it's going to be, then there's going to be a disconnect in our true relationship, in our authentic relationship. And we'll start to be guarded and we'll start to withdraw, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, because it's not in alignment anymore. And
absolutely.
And I think another misunderstanding as far as manifesting is it really comes down to this simple. The life that you think you need to have or you want will only cost you one thing: the life that you have. Period. What that looks like, you won't know till you get there. But if you think you need more right now than what you currently have, you're going to learn what it's like to be without it first. Because
Yeah.
go if
ahead.
we don't appreciate it, we can't maintain that abundant energy of it's enough. There's going to be a lack or a fear that we can't pay a bill, or what's this going to happen, or what's going to happen if I can't pay my electric bill, or if they turn my phone bill off, or like all those little paper cuts are leaking energy.
Absolutely. I love how you call them paper cuts. I think that's a good term for that. Really, yeah, I think that's great. I think that's great. I think that everything you just shared really supports exactly what it is that that I was saying.
Right.
It really goes together with that, because if we tie this together for everybody, nature does take us down to the speed that matches our brain and our nervous system, the speed that we can process. That's what it does. So, I want those of you listening, if you're, having resistance to any of that part, I want you to understand we're not saying don't use technology. We're not saying don't learn quickly. We're not saying don't try to be more efficient. But in being more aware of yourself and who you are and how you function, you're going to have a more successful time and a less miserable time trying to create change and transformation and manifest if you understand these things. One of the reasons I was excited about doing this topic today, aside from the fact that I'm obsessed with manifesting, and I've been manifesting coach for 16 years, because I didn't want to just learn to manifest and create things I wanted. I wanted to understand. This came, guys, out of like what Chris was saying, where he was saying if you're not grateful for what you have, you can't manifest something better or more of it. And that's true. But likewise, manifesting is also acknowledging and recognizing that you are manifesting every moment of every day. And you are doing it subconsciously. And one of the biggest mistakes, and I'm going to do a whole webinar on this, but one of the biggest mistakes is we all collectively believe, and this is reinforced by the general manifesting and coaching community, some who just don't know any better, and some who are literally lying about it.
I would say they're innocent because they just don't know any better, but it's not a multi-billion-dollar industry because they're helping. They're getting their portion, and I'm in the same industry. So
not all of us are getting our portion. Some of us.
Well, I mean, like,
and I don't even mind
gave
if
me
they
some
are.
money today that I did work 4 years ago.
Right.
What
Absolutely.
what an amazing blessing, like
Right.
that totally came out of nowhere. I woke up today, like, oh, wow, money just shows up out of nowhere, which is something that I've said for a really long time. As long as you're putting that energy out there and giving from a purity of how can I help you right now? And if you don't have this has just been my walk, because I had to learn like true Aini and true sacred reciprocity of not tit for tat or transactional relationships. It's been part of my walk to purify my heart. Is like we give everything we can give, and then we'll receive back everything that can be that we're able to receive. That, whether we want to say that consciously or unconsciously or subconsciously or whatever, we've created those languages as a human species to be able to communicate at a level beyond our physical reality, which is cool because that's how we can have the show and we can share information and we can evolve as human beings. Because we do gain new awareness and we do gain new insights and learn and grow as we walk through life. And thank God, you know, we don't get everything we want when we want it, because we would be so bored with life that we would really get destructive. And I've seen that. I've seen that a lot in my life. That people have had these great blessings, and instead of using it for good, they get bored, and then they start destroying themselves, whether it's through substance or some kind of other distraction or hedonistic pleasure. Because that's what the commerce. I mean, that's the commercial industry. That's the consumption. Like, it consumes. That's what its purpose is there to do. Not good or bad. Just it's what it is.
Well, so it can be negative when unchecked. But I want to get back to the point I was getting at here.
Okay.
So let me kind of back up and start over,
Mm-hmm.
because this all needs to sort of be said together. And I'm trying to explain a point here I really want everybody to get. So one of the main lies or misunderstandings or things that people go on that we sort of collectively believe about manifesting is that, we get caught up in the 5% of our mind we are aware of. And maybe people get tired of me saying this, but I say it repeatedly because this is one of the core foundations of manifesting. And it's one of the greatest aspects that's left out. People are wondering, why don't I get what I want? Why is it so hard to manifest? Why isn't it working? And if you do not fully understand that we are manifesting with the 95% of our mind you are unaware of, then you might as well forget all your efforts altogether. And you won't understand why things are coming out the way that they are. You have to understand that it is your subconscious mind, which is your egoic self, that you are not aware of, that is manifesting. Because then you can understand how you need to work on a neurological level to reprogram yourself. If I was to, when I post a live or a video or an event or a course, and it talks about how to program yourself neurologically for success, most people are not interested in it. Signs up, nobody's interested. If I post, join me for 90 minutes, learn how to get what you want, I've got a ton of people signed up. And I remember this, I learned this first when I had clients of mine that were working with me intensely to transform their mindset, become aware, so they could learn to manifest consistently and successfully. And I remember them showing up, and they had found they were so excited to tell me they had found this event, this webinar, and it was all about how to get what you want. And I remember, the realization I had there, I was like, oh boy, here I am working with these people, consistently every week to become aware enough of themselves to give them the tools and processes to literally reprogram the part of their mind that creates their reality. And yet they're, and I use it too now for marketing. You'll see I'll have on there how to get everything you want. Sure. Because you give people what they want, and then when they come in and work with you, you give them what they need. But it was so interesting because we were working hard on this, and it was so easy to see how people were lured in by this, right? But that same part of your mind that is more attracted to get everything you want is also the part of your mind that keeps leading you down the rabbit hole of creating the same crap that you want out of. And so I think this is really important for people to understand, because otherwise you continue to spiral and you keep recreating what's happening. And so, if you guys are on here on the rebroadcast or on the live and you're listening, please at least take notes and write this down. One of the number one challenges, and and misleadings about manifesting is that you're doing it consciously. And there are certain aspects of your subconscious you have to bring into your awareness, yes, into your conscious mind that is in your subconscious in order to make changes. But the majority of people I know, they're doing everything on that conscious level. Natural, because the part of you that is watching Chris and I right now, that is listening to what we're saying, that is processing us, you're making judgments. You're making constant judgments. Wow, Chris's hair looks really great today. Oh, there's Larkin again. She's not on the screen. Oh, what they're saying feels really good. I like that part. No, I don't like that part. Everything you're thinking, you're judging is your conscious mind. But what is the part of you, the subconscious, really doing at this point? If you're having some of those thoughts, you have some resistance that's actually coming from your subconscious. And that's the part of your mind that's going to be creating. So you could be sitting there thinking to yourself, well, I really need to listen to what she's saying. It's really not interesting to me because I want to get on to the good stuff. But that's your subconscious coming out, finding resistance to the things that might actually help you, right? So the first thing we need to just remember, guys, is that if you're struggling to quote unquote manifest, understand that you have some subconscious beliefs going on that you aren't really aware of, and they will present themselves as your thoughts and feelings about the things you're learning about manifesting. But underneath them are beliefs from old programs that keep you where you are. And I'm going to give you a way to tell what that is. Look around at your life. You might even want to make a list and see what things you've been trying to change for 6 months or more, what things you feel like you're failing at changing, and what things you think you're able to change quickly. And the current state of your life will actually tell you what your beliefs are, which are repeated thoughts. It will actually tell you what your comfort zones are, and it will tell you your habits and repetition and your true priorities. Just the current state of your life. And then that is a great place for you to start with all of the cool techniques that Chris and I are giving you today. Your reality doesn't lie.
No, I mean, it's like, consciously, if you're going to go plant something in your garden, consciously you can put fertilizer on it, you can water it, and you can consciously plant the seed. But nature itself will nourish that seed into the thing that it's supposed to become, and we're no different. So whatever energy we put out is what is going to come back in return. And the subconscious and the conscious, for me, from what I'm aware of, is a frequency that we can relate labels to. So when we can awaken beyond a label, we're not emotionally tied to something. And so it's harder for us to be manipulated or misled by somebody's words, because we observe their actions and the gaps in between what they say and how they actually show up in life. That's honing it in.
And I'd recommend that you guys really focus on awareness first, because you guys have to know where you are so that you're not recreating some of the same things. A little heads up I find is that, a lot of times I find, which is why some of my coaching clients work with me for a year or more, is this is all a process, right? So whatever you've created is the result of your habits and repetition and the programmings and belief systems you've learned and implemented probably for decades, right? And as Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches, by the time you're 36 years old, Your life is basically just a repetition of your automatic neurological programs. How frightening is that? You can change those, but we need awareness. One of the reasons that Chris and I emphasize that out in nature, one of the many reasons, is because you're a part of nature. That's like home base. When you are back in nature, see, everything stems from your nervous system, guys.
We're always
So
in nature. Can't escape.
Right, we are nature. So when we talk about, I always describe to my clients the different levels: your eternal consciousness, the electromagnetic energy that is you, the consciousness of your soul, and then you have your brain, right, where all these neurological programs are going on, and then you have your mind, which is in between. And what happens is when you're out in nature, your mind calms down. It gets in sync, right? And it goes the speed of nature. It literally calms your nervous system, which is what's connected to our brain, right? Manifesting has so much to do with the physiology of our nervous system. And again, as we spoke about a few minutes ago, if you're trying to keep up emotionally, you're trying to have emotional regulation and nervous system regulation, sitting behind a desk all day, racing around, trying to keep up with being accepted by the quote unquote collective clan of humanity, you're not in a relaxed state to be able to receive what's really already there for you. Which are if there's something you want to manifest, somehow there's a vibrational match to that for you, and there's an emotional match for that for you. We manifest by the energy we give off emotionally. So when your nervous system is all hyped up, which it is basically when it's not in nature, nature calms that down. Nature gives you perspective. It relaxes your nervous system. It relaxes your body. And guys, nothing can happen through your intention that way without that. If you're wanting to change or heal or improve things, you need to be able to have that emotional regulation. So maybe there's a lot of people. I mean, I know people that are afraid to stand on grass. They're afraid of ladybugs. I mean, okay, then go out and sit on your deck or your porch with no music, with no television. Find that quiet time. Stop talking. Don't allow any input. And it's going to start bringing some awareness to your conscious mind, as well as calming your nervous system. And this is a change I find everyone trying to manifest as frantically as they are living the rest of their lives. And guys, it doesn't really work. I mean, you might think it does. You might say, but Larkin, there's all these multimillionaires and billionaires out there. This is coming from a lot of men. Women tend to do it differently. They've got all these garages full of cars, and within a year they were able to accumulate all these things. And I'm not saying you can't do that, but that doesn't work for everyone, and not all of those people are really doing that.
And give it 10 years.
There's a lot more to the immediate image that you see than what you guys think. I mean, a lot of those people, not all, the people that really genuinely have that, like let's say Dr. Wayne Dyer, he came into that type of wealth. There's nothing wrong with that. You guys know, I coach money. I've got nothing wrong with money. Money is neutral. I will argue with you about that. However, you guys have to understand that our perspective of all this, how to get it, why we want it, need it, what it's for, is way off base. The majority of these coaches starting out that have gone through these training programs and they're trying to make themselves off to be these wealthy entrepreneurs, not all of them, the majority of them are renting these cars, renting these houses, hiring photo shoots. It's not real. The people that have really worked this up, guys, have either learned from their families who were wealthy, and they learned this. This is part of their mindset and their comfort zone, or they have worked up from the bottom up, from having nothing. Like one of my coaches she was homeless for more than 10 years. She was sleeping in an airport, homeless. Why do I love her? Why is she authentic and genuine? Because she coaches like I do. She coaches from a place of having had nothing, of suffering or struggling financially. She genuinely does this because she doesn't want people to suffer, and she wants to empower them to build up authentically and genuinely on their own. She provides realistic, practical ways to manifest from the inside out, not for the sake of getting wealthy and being flashy. And many of them do. She gives them concrete things to work with. There's a big difference. There's nothing flashy about her at all. Hold on a minute. Hey. There's nothing flashy about her. No. Hold on, guys. Sorry. Hold on. I'm sorry, guys. Here, come here. I'm in the middle of a broadcast. You may not do this. Come on. There is an authenticity about her, but that is realistic for people to become financially secure so they aren't suffering, doing what they love, doing what they're good at. And that, guys, if you guys are struggling with manifesting in general, whether this is money or relationships or anything, you have to, this is one of the other pitfalls I see people fall into. Don't try to go from 0 to 80. It's one small step at a time, just like in nature. It's one small step at a time. So if you're like have horrific relationships and you're wanting your dream soulmate, but you've had nothing but abusive, terrible heartbreak relationships your whole life, don't expect, maybe it'll happen for you, but don't expect to make the leap, because we grow in increments, right? If you are, if you're homeless or you can't pay your bills or you're afraid of losing your house or, any of those types of things, don't say, okay, I want to be like that, billionaire that owns 3,000 properties. You can be like that. That can be a dream. But your next step should be just getting comfortable. Just getting through a few months where you're not afraid you're going to lose your house or you're not afraid you're going to get kicked out. Because our subconscious mind, guys, it won't
go through the experience.
Yeah, and it won't believe the gap.
Right. Well, and then if you go through the experience, then you realize that there's nothing to fear, because through that experience, you're still alive. So you still get that opportunity to recreate yourself without that fear. Like, I went through bankruptcy years ago, and I've had several clients where I'm like, they're like, oh, I don't know if I should, and they're in a moral, ethical, thing about it. And I'm like, I understand that, because we all have been programmed that that's not good and it's failure and all this stuff. But let me share. I went through it, and it was a great relief. And on the other side, I was still able to live in a home. I still had a car. I still had everything that I needed to live life. Like, my reality didn't collapse. I had to learn to be more mindful of how I was using money, and not living in Tomorrowland. And it's going to come tomorrow. I need it today, but tomorrow I can pay it back, and those various different things. And now it's a completely different relationship to my level of abundance, going, I've got $20 in my pocket. I got food in my belly. I'm good for right now. When I need more will come. It always does. And from that, it's when it's from that place of continuously still giving and not giving the excuse of, I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to help. I'm not going to volunteer. I'm only going to look out for me because I'm in this place right now. If we can get past that, then we'll raise our vibration. Like, absolutely, Mark, I agree with you. Failure is doing nothing. Fear is doing nothing, because you're afraid of something that's going to be inevitable, going to happen unless you put your shoes on and you step up. And whatever that means looks like. You know, I have a lot of work with a lot of spiritual people that have all these beautiful stories, and they're not living the life that they want because they believe more of what there's going on in their head than we're paying attention to where their 2 feet are.
Absolutely. And that's why, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, and that's, you know, as you were saying about nature walk. Well, we are nature. Everything is nature. The only thing that's artificial is the thoughts and feelings, and on other levels, you know, because those are energies that we can't physically sense. But those are still within nature. So how could anything be outside of nature? But for me to get from here to the next place, I have to take a left step, a right step, a left step, a right step. And it's okay to be in the fog, as somebody told me the other day, and not be able to see the end marker. You know, you're not able to see the summit yet because you're going through a layer of fog, you know, as you're climbing the mountain per se. But it's trusting that each step you take every day is another step. Every moment is another step. Every breath is another step. That eventually you'll get to where you get to. And if you slow down enough, you actually realize that you've been there for quite some time. And if you get stuck in the destination, like once I have this, then I'll have it. Once I have a partner, then I'll have it. When I have the house, I'll have it. When I have a new car, I'll have it. When I have people that I can trust, but trust their word, that they're going to follow through with their intention, I'll have it. Like if all those fears and insecurities are why you're not where you want to get to yet, that's where you start.
Let me get my weekly debate with C. Mark Thomas here. We always have this. And it's because it's not really a debate. It's not really. It's not really a debate. It's because I'm very particular about my wording and about what? Oh, I'm very particular about wording and the meaning behind that wording. So, you know, when C. Mark is saying, I don't know what you want me to call you. You want me to call you Mark? What am I supposed to call him? Failure is doing nothing. Okay, well, let's look at this another way. There is no failure because there is no end. And I've had people say to me during readings, oh, but so-and-so killed himself. That was a failure. No, it wasn't. There is no end.
That's funny that came around, by the way.
What?
When we were talking shows today, I was going to suggest the topic of death is only the beginning. And I was like, and then you said what you said about the, you know, today's show. And I was like, okay, we'll go with that. So it's funny that it looped around anyway.
No, we got to move on with that. We'll do that next week, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, this is an important topic. Hi, Brenda. Welcome. It's important because the ego, you guys have to, again, I love sharing this with you. You got to understand everything you respond or say or think or do or react to when we're having these broadcasts, it's ego. We always have to, I mean, and I do this with myself too. I'm not judging you guys. I do this with myself. Number one rule. This has been my number one rule for my clients for 16 years. Stop believing your thoughts, period. Just start with that. After that, you can step back and you can analyze. And I do it like this now. I do it real quick because I've been doing this for so long. But we have to understand that, as Eckhart Tolle says, thoughts are synonymous with ego. We are hardwired, and people have used and abused people in society for thousands of years under this fear and pretense of failure. Because you guys know, I always simplify everything and back it way up. When it comes down to it, if you were caveman in the middle of nowhere, survival means not being rejected by the clan. Thank you, Mark. Everything about us, no matter how evolved we are, fancy, groomed, intelligent, educated, everything about us and our nervous system is to keep us alive. That is ego. It's not bad. It has to be there. The question is, as we evolve, how aware are we of it, and how can we use it to our advantage? Right? I am great at sales. Like, I have a way above average level of sales. I am not salesy at all. Everything I sell sells itself. And it is only people I believe are a good match for something with my understanding they need to invest in it. Okay? I need ego for that. I am helping other people's personality, their manifested tangible life, and I need their ego and my ego for that. You guys will hardly ever hear me say that because I'm always talking to you guys about being more conscious, observing the ego, not letting the ego take over, okay? But here in this world, there is this finite reality, and you're here, you're supposed to be here, that's okay. So when we look at failure, we can break down failure and we can say in small compartmentalized sections, failure is a real thing, right? You try, Tony Robbins filed bankruptcy like 4 times. He had at least 4 completely failed businesses where he was back out living in his car again. But failure is the key to success. So if we're compartmentalizing in small categories, we're saying, yes, the question is, do you learn from those compartmentalized experiences where you fail? The other thing is when we give up, if we quit, and sometimes you should quit. You fail in a relationship that's horrific, that's abusive, that no one is benefiting from. Sure. Can you say that that relationship was a failure? Yes. But the question is, was that bad? I don't know. What is bad? We're here in contrast, good or bad, right? Sometimes you need the bad. You need that bad apple so you can go find the better one, right? So this is a good time to invite everyone to give yourself permission. Mark, that's fine. I appreciate your response. I want to share this though. This is important to share, Mark. This isn't about you. This is your topic about failure being something that needs to be shared for everyone, really. This is part of talking about manifesting. Okay. So this isn't just about you. This is that you brought this up, and this is a great topic because we need to give ourselves permission for all these things that we see as the negative side of contrast. And I tell my clients this all the time. Permission to be sad, permission to have a failure, permission to make mistakes, permission to whatever it is, try too hard. We always have to be giving ourselves permission and being okay with whatever emotion that is connected to it. And that's so powerful because it allows us to move forward, right? And absolutely, yeah. And not the message of not letting fear rule your life, absolutely. And here's 2 aspects of that because people do that all the time, okay? I'm just acknowledging your comments, Mark, okay? When this is something we would get into anyway. When we're talking about fear, it is true. If you make decisions out of fear, it leads you to undesirable manifestations. Either another mistake and you have to learn, or something it is that you need to adjust. It usually makes the road longer. By the same token, fear can be such a useful tool. You go around the corner, you walk in that building, you go in a certain parking lot, or you're going to do a business deal with somebody, and you just have this feeling of fear. It's a message and a road sign to us that we need to look into. Okay, is this fear my intuition telling me something? My gut feeling telling me this isn't a good idea? Or is this fear self-induced that comes from my subconscious, right? Is this something that's coming from my subconscious mind that is something I need to overcome? and this is something my clients and I work through. I know, Chris, you've been through that a lot, but the more aware you guys become of this, and a lot of you that'll listen to this on the rebroadcast, can you decipher between, okay, what is the fear telling you? It's a huge messenger. And is it a sign for you to get out of Dodge? Or is it a sign that you need to face that fear and walk through it, and an inner adjustment that needs to be made?
Well, the question is again, remember where your feet are. So if you want to survive this moment, the only thing you have to worry about is your body. The deaths that come from the ego, or the versions of yourself, or the identities, or how you label the stories of what you've gone through, to give yourself, I'm somebody, I'm important, we do that a lot, to help, push us forward in ways, because we're human beings. We're designed naturally to be at peace, which is a neutral state. So the doing is more of like the pendulum swing and what you're paying attention to, but it's always bringing you back to the center between those left and right steps, whether it's right, wrong, whatever, good, bad, narratives that we have. It's amazing to me to sit with somebody that's had the privilege to go through a wartime experience and hear what they went through, and also understand my level of privilege was not to have that experience. So I have no way to relate other than, wow, what an amazing experience that you went through. That makes you unique. Like that's what gives you your specialness. Not because it was being shared from a place of, I deserve this, or, da 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 da. It was just a natural, like, yeah, I've gone through some things. Here's some of here's some of my personal experiences, as we're sharing, say, around the campfire, and it's not a measuring stick. It's not, matching wounds or anything like that, but it's recognizing our true humanity of what we each as individuals have gone through, and then collectively being able to communicate how we can nurture and support each other, as we recognize we are a community already, and the things that divide us are those things, such as religions and traditions and manifestations, and who has this and who has that, and who went to this event and who went to that event, that those are just part of our life story. And manifesting, as Larkin said, happens each and every moment. So what are the quality of your manifestations? What are the quality of your thoughts that you're hearing or you're observing? Not your thoughts, but the quality that you're tuning into. Or what is the feeling within your body? Where is there restriction? Where is there looseness? Where is there heat? Where is there coolness or dampness? Like, that's going to help you really be grounded in getting beyond that narrative of going back and checking that seed that you planted, that idea that you want to manifest, and keep poking at it and going, is it here yet? Is it here yet? Is it here yet? And higher spirit or consciousness or angels or God or whatever is like, don't you have faith in me? Like, trust me, it will show up when the time is right. The time is right. And usually for me, it happens when I'm in a grateful place and I'm just bebopping, is what I would call. I'm walking down the street, I'll pick up a piece of trash, I throw it, I'm not worried about how it's going to be about. I'm putting the energy out, I'm showing up doing the work. And by natural consequences, those things come in, whether we call it karma, whatever, those are teachings that we sometimes weave in and out of because we've gotten the opportunity to learn from many different teachers in this one life. We weren't given a master to learn from, and this was the only one. We have, even if you want to be a Christian, there's so many flavors of Christianity that you can find one that suits your needs a little bit better, or where you're at a little bit better, or maybe that you like the preacher better in the community. I mean, my family talks about that stuff all the time, and it's fascinating to me. Because I'm curious about humanity, and how we got here and where we're going to go, and that's what I'm looking to manifest. Is that not the hand out because you're privileged and entitled, but the hand up, because we're building this new earth, this new way of life, letting the old systems collapse by nourishing and supporting each other as we're walking through this life, rather than selling them service.
It's absolutely true. And I want to remind everybody today, like, all those things, all of your manifesting fits into what Chris is sharing. But I want to also keep to the topic today of manifesting. And I want to leave you guys with a few calls to action and things that you can do when it comes to manifesting. Because I think that, one of the reasons I love coaching it is because I love to see people get off the hamster wheel. And, I know Chris and I spoke a little bit of this earlier in the show, but I wanted to share with you all, like, if I look back at when I started my intentional manifesting journey, which, again, guys, that's just a label, right? I can say that for everyone to relate to because we talk about manifesting, because everyone's why are people interested in the term manifesting? Because the ego wants what it wants. That's what this all boils down to, right? We don't want what we don't want. We want what we want. And I think, we've said this before, but it's important to remember there are no shortcuts. So the easiest way to shorten a longer path of struggle and suffering to something for you is with awareness and simplicity. And we try to give you, if you listen to all of our broadcasts, you will hear the same simple advice, no matter what our topic is. Getting back in nature, ways to calm the nervous system, embarking on this practice of daily and constant awareness, the ability to detach so that you can observe the observer behind your thoughts and be aware of yourself and make different choices. We, embedded in everything that we talk about are these same simple principles. And it is because it works for everyone. The quickest way to make sure that you're going to have a long, drawn out a series of changes and struggling and suffering before you see any sort of transformation or improvement towards what you want is to be obliviously rolling along, repeating your same thoughts, feelings, and choices constantly. The quickest way to shortcut that, because there is no shortcut, but to cut that down is to ensure your growth and transformation as quickly as possible, because lessons are repeated until learned. And I think what we leave out in this whole coaching manifesting industry is, these principles have been around for thousands of years, guys. These are nothing new. The secret packaged part of manifesting, which where you're a natural born manifester, it made God knows how much money off of it.
She manifested the life of her dreams, being of service.
She did. She did. But so are we all. So am I, right? So we talk to Wayne Dyer. And And we need that. Like, we need this constantly reminded, because we forget like less than the next generation. But, how many people are really implementing this? I mean, I love Neville Goddard. I've been studying him for almost 20 years now. He really got it. But how many people were really following him? And how many people that became his students and his master students kind of twisted it and used it for other things? So the most powerful way for us to share these things with you is to break it down, make it simple, help you understand how your mind, body, and brain already works. Because if you don't understand that, you can't use these things as a tool for yourself and say, hey, go try and experiment and implement these things on your own. Because I can tell you, over 20 years ago, when I started working on these things, if I look back at what I was doing, what I was believing because of how I was being influenced, and my expectations, they were so unrealistic. I mean, how I was implementing what I was learning and how quickly I thought it was going to happen based on the brainwashing I was receiving, because I was still just learning to filter out what was really real and I could really implement with a real impact, and what was hype. I mean, if you just watch and listen and read The Secret, you're not going to get it.
Actually, the secret, I'll tell you.
I had
John
to dig
talks
deep.
about it. He talked about this vision he had for a house, and then 20 years later,
exactly,
he just happened to find the thing. It was like, oh, I did manifest it. Oh, look at that.
That's how it really happens.
But then that's the point. Like,
yes,
watching the seed try to grow and be like, why don't you a pineapple yet?
Right.
Like, you should.
Yeah, those were like the most realistic. I mean, and there were people that did that video that were part of that were completely frauds. And there were people that were totally genuine. But that is the reality of it, Chris. I mean, it is like, I've got stuff manifesting now that I was working my ass off to manifest like 20 years ago when I was learning this stuff, and that I've long since forgot about. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, now
timing, right? Like,
right. It's all timing. And some of it you're like, oh, wow, look what happened. And other things I'm like, oh, I don't want that anymore.
but look at how I've grown.
right. I mean, but it's already in there, guys. And so, it is so easy for all of, not all of you maybe, but all of the people watching all these things. I mean, that's the whole reason I started my Awakening Your Intuition manifesting course, and why Chris and I are on here. Like, I feel like more than half of what we do is helping people unlearn the BS that's not real. And I believe that's just as important, because if if I look at what I thought I was going to manifest within 6 weeks to 6 months, and yes, things can happen like that, but why don't they? They don't until you have worked through and brought into awareness a certain level of the gunk in there. They don't until you have a certain level of awareness and alignment. And something Chris has been kind of alluding to through every time he talks about this stuff, but I really want to summarize up, like, you don't just manifest what you want. The universe gives you what you need. So if you can get yourself in a place where what you want and what you need converges, that's great. But the number one priority, guys, of the universe, of your higher self, who is your true master teacher, your true consciousness, your eternal self, and your whole spirit team, is that you get what you need to be of service. But even before that, to learn, grow, and evolve. You will get that first. So if you manifest the lottery, which guaranteed, if you manifest the lottery and you're hard up for money right now, you will not keep that anymore. Things will go ass backwards. Okay. Sorry, can't make any guarantees on YouTube, but right, exactly. So if you want that money or that lifestyle and you want to be able to keep it, your frequency and your alignment have to match that. because the universe will automatically align you with what you need to grow and evolve first, because that is the ultimate priority of your higher self, your spirit team in the bigger picture. And this is the number one thing I never, and I mean, I never hear. I heard Dr. Wayne Dyer say it, but I never say these high guru manifesting coaches say, because they want you to buy their program. The bottom line is that you need to understand this first. You are not a failure in manifesting. You need to get yourself back to that place where you are in alignment to be able to manifest that vision of your dreams. And if it's not happening, if it's not happening, that means you have other lessons that you need to grow that require a different reality. And let me tell you, just like you can't make it daytime when it's night, and you can't make the sun go into an eclipse before it's ready, you cannot force the other. This is what we need to say.
Fuck things all up way beyond your.
That's why we're saying there's no shortcut, and we're giving you what you need, though, to do this, to get to that point. But you guys have to follow the steps. Like, you can't just sit there and hope it's going to happen. It doesn't work that way.
Well, and you know, one of the greatest wisdom. I mean, Mamo is a great teacher, and not because he knows things. In fact, he doesn't know a whole. I mean, he's intelligent, but you know, like, they live from a place where they don't have universities and libraries and things, so their wisdom is way different than, like, you know, 1940s.
True wisdom. It's not societal knowledge.
Right. So, but he said, you know, the worst pain you'll ever experience is making a wish, getting it, then losing it. So, you know, don't wish for more than you're ready to handle yet. Like, you have to have it responsible. It's like planting a huge garden and, like, I'm going to be able to handle this. And then, you know, like 3 weeks later, it's overgrown. Things are, you know, like,
it's my husband's garden. Okay, sorry.
I put a video on social media, like, first time doing tomatoes. Oh my God, these things exploded. You know, like, I tried to tie them up. I tried to maintain them, but they had, you know, whatever. And we've made them. Yeah, and you know, and that's the thing. Like, I've got so much going on in my life that, you know, there's those things that show me that I'm not in proper alignment with lifestyle, because it's a style of life of how we live each and every day. You know, if I got up and dedicated an hour a day to, you know, doing things in the garden, then my garden wouldn't get overrun because we had a couple rainy days. You know, like, so, you know, these are my, you know, this is where I feel like the missteps are, is this is all a learning process, and no one is farther ahead than someone else, because we share this moment. We've acquired other skill sets. We've acquired knowledge and information, but it's how we relate those things in this moment that will move our future into the direction that we want it to go. You know, and it's not that we each as individuals have our own perception and perspectives and our wants and our desires, and that ball of energy we could label an ego, I guess. And then there's a collective one out there that matters way more than we do, because if my life was to end today, I would have an effect. People would miss me. But I tell you, in 100 years, I probably wouldn't have much of an effect. You know, the whales are and all the things that are on this beautiful planet that we get to share life with are gonna go on, because that's the purpose of life, is to experience life. So experience it in the best ways, as best you can. And you know, don't get so caught up in trying to be somewhere where you're not ready to be that version of yourself yet. because that's going to create inauthentic manifestations. And then you're going to have whatever disease is going to show up to help remind you that you've fallen off course because you followed someone else's game plan and you were here to live your life.
And that's a good point. Instead of looking in too, I mean, we're so over bombarded with everyone else's life and what they have. And again, guys, this goes back to the clan mentality, this cave person mentality, because that is still our brain. We have to understand our nervous system is still connected to that. So it's still, oh my God, they got a new car, they got a new trailer, look, their house is done. Oh my God, they got a promotion, they're moving up. Why can't we? And it's all over social media. It's all over, we're living vicariously through celebrities and things like that, whose lives aren't even, and you guys know this, all of you know who are listening to this, they're just people too. They're having lives too, but it's this image of things that we get caught up in. And I think what we forget again is those things are recorded in that 95% of our mind we're not aware of. So my clients can say to me, oh no, I don't want to be like the celebrities. They're them, but it's ingrained, guys, in our subconscious. We're still influenced what the expectations are. And there's so much identity crisis right now in so many ways. Instead of creating ourselves, we're like trying to, let's find ourselves. This is why you guys always hear me talking about connecting to remembering who you are as a soul. Because if you're confused about who you are as a person and who you want to be, at least if you can remember and connect and know innately as a soul. I mean, that was the thing that always saved me. I remembered who I was as a soul. And I don't mean in an egoic way. I meant in a feeling, knowing way. Not necessarily a way I could describe to someone else, not in appearance. I just knew. There was a knowing I couldn't share with anyone else about my core. And when you have that, then no matter what else is going on, you have that, right? And it's not all tied up in who you are as the egoic personality here. And this is what a lot of the cultures like that you work with, Chris, a lot of these native cultures, their children grow up getting to feel that. They're connected to nature. They're part of that community. They might not, if I sit down and interview them, they might not say, oh, I know who I am as a core soul. But they do, because they keep that connection. And it might be subconscious, but they still know. And if you have that, no matter what is going on, I mean, no matter how difficult my life is as a human being or what challenges I have as Larkin, the personality, I know that core. And I always kept that core. And so I try to take my clients back down to remembering who that core is. Because the older we get in life, the more we forget that eternal part of ourselves. And nature helps bring you back to that. So if you guys want to sort of clear the slate for yourself and get back to the basics and make it simple, so you can say, how many of you know people who don't know what they want? I mean, almost everybody I know, even if they've had a 30-year career, I still don't know what I want to do, they'll say. Or I sure wish I had done that. Right? It really helps when we get that down to that core of who we are.
Yeah.
Now, there was one other thing, guys, I wanted to say before we left today, and I'm trying to remember. It was another principle of manifesting I wanted to leave you guys with. I'm trying to remember which one it was. It popped into my head. I was like, I need to share that with you guys. But I think I definitely want to leave you guys all with a thought and the idea of, I know what it was. For those of you that are out there trying all the tools, techniques, and processes like I teach my clients, the vision boards, which now people are using as a marketing technique, saying that doesn't work. They're using the opposite type of strategy. Journaling, the hour in the morning, this and that. I want to say a little something about that. This can work for you or against you, depending on where you are. Okay. I do believe that how we start and end our day is vital, because you are summarizing and storing in your subconscious mind however you end your day. You are setting future intention however you start your day. You are setting the attitude and getting that train rolling. However, if you are trying too hard and you are really struggling with, let's say you have a hard time with visualization and you're really struggling with that. Let's say that you are working really hard and you're like, I've got to, I've had clients that I've got to do this guided meditation for 4 hours a day. Okay. Ridiculous. Like, no, you do not have to do that.
It's fun though. I've done it.
It can be really fun. But there's a point where if you guys are trying things too hard and then you're going back and you're judging yourself, you're not helping yourself. Water never boils. It's true, right? So make sure that when you're doing these techniques, that you're enjoying them, that you're doing them because you feel inspired. Okay, make sure you're not forcing yourself and just going through the motions. D'Angelo, he's awake. That means I'm in trouble. He's awake. He's a booger. So just make sure that what you guys are doing, you enjoy it. Make sure there's a practicality to it. If you're doing your hour in the morning and your hour at night, make sure you're journaling so you see your mind on paper. Or make sure that you don't have a to-do list that's 10 items long. Make sure it's no more than 3 so you can set yourself up for success. And the reason I say be careful how you're using these manifesting techniques is because there's ways you can apply them that really work against you, and they just create more resistance that keeps you in this stasis of not intentionally manifesting. Make sure that they allow for this room of giving yourself permission, of feeling good and excited about what you're doing, almost to the point where you can feel it coming. Because what I have found is a lot of people who are the best at visualizing and the best at doing the tools, techniques, and processes I give them are actually the worst at manifesting, because they have the equal resistance to it. And a lot of times those people are not doing the practical steps. We can't discount the practical steps to happen. Right?
Gotta be a realist and an idealist.
Right. Well, you've got to be a balance of both, guys. And so, I have a lot of clients that couldn't visualize at all, but they were right back into the manifesting the money or changing their relationships quicker, and they stunk at the techniques I gave them. And then there were people that were just master clients. They were so good at using the tools, techniques, and processes I gave them. They had it down. They could have taught for me, but man, they couldn't manifest anything intentionally. And so there's 1 or 2 things happening there, right? It's either creating so much resistance. And remember, every subject is 2 subjects, as Abraham Hicks says. And so you're just keeping yourself in the same spot and you're measuring every little inch of it, or you're not in alignment. You've got some things, you're so busy focusing on manifesting what you want to manifest that you're not aware of whatever lessons, you're not making the choices that allow you to overcome the lesson that's in your vicinity right now. And since lessons are repeated until learned, you better cultivate some awareness to find out what that is. I mean, I've had a lot of clients that are like, oh my God, people are just always mean to me. I love talking about this. Well, guess what? If people are always mean to you, you're probably mean. You're either mean and you're doing something really unfair and unkind to them, or you have such an addiction to being the victim that you invite it. It's one of those 2 things. People are not just mean to you out of the blue, unless you have that victim mentality and that's what you attract because that's subconsciously what you want, or you're mean. And the majority of clients I've had that think people are always mean to them, people don't like them, they're just mean. And they don't know it. And life is reflecting to them that meanness. They feel like a victim, but they're mean because they feel like a victim. And then this reinforces, I'm a victim. Okay. So
always manifesting.
right. Every moment of every day you're
You're
manifesting.
manifesting what you do or you don't want. I promise
Right.
you.
I mean, if you're stealing in any way, shape, or form, things will be taken from you. And guys, it's not always obvious. You might be a thief physically, and then your favorite relationship gets taken from you, or your health gets taken from you. It's not always what you think, which is why we have trouble seeing the reflection. So we should be more vigilant about our own choices, our own behavior, our own treatment of others, taking radical responsibility. No matter how is someone else treating us, how are we responding? Are we being the best version, as Dr. Joe says, the best version of ourselves, no matter what they do? Or are you lowering the frequency of what you're manifesting because you're lowering yourself to someone else's level? You don't ever have to do that. Let them be who they are.
I got to get justice. I got to get revenge. I got to get even. Yeah. Woo. Sorry.
Yeah, and that just sets you up for more
right.
baloney.
Yeah, it's funny how people like to do that.
Absolutely.
I mean, and I've been there too, so I understand it. But once you see it, then you can't unsee it. So then
absolutely.
You're just like, all right, if that's how you want to play it, all right. Like, you don't have to. There's we can go another way as conscious beings. We can zig instead of zag. But if that's your automatic and that's all you want to look for, then that's as far as it's going to go. Oh, you're muted, Larkin.
I know, I am on purpose. I'm helping my dad. I'll be right there.
Oh, that's okay. I just saw your mouth moving.
Yeah, I was talking to him. He always has some exciting thing going on when I am doing some sort of a broadcast or something.
Yeah. Well, you're always broadcasting, so that makes sense.
That's true. He keeps me on my toes. I got to set you down for a second here before we say goodbye, because when I go in the other room, we have an old house with lead walls, so I'll lose you if I walk in the other room.
Oh, okay. No worries. So yeah, just wrapping up. Thanks again for tuning in. We did go a little longer than we normally do, so thanks for hanging in there with us as we finish this up. Definitely want to encourage you guys to check out enhancingyourworld.com and all the different ways that we can connect there. Looking forward to hosting the Enhancing Your World gathering at our Verona location, September 25th to the 27th. There's still some tickets available and vendor spots open for that, for those that feel the call to join at that gathering. And Larkin, did you get your website and stuff set up yet, or?
Oh my gosh. So I've got my stand store set up, which is amazing. I'm doing my third item today, so people will be able to get discovery calls, and they can join my dual mastermind for $47 a month. That's intuitive and manifesting a mindset mastermind. And I have my readings on there. So Stand Store is cool for those of you that don't know about it.
I built a version on our website. Yeah, so
God, it's so cool. I love it. And then my website is almost up and running. And then obviously I've got my school, which is awesome, and I can post that in there. But
cool.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, I've been working
on
stuff.
Well, the most expensive currency is our attention. So thanks for focusing with us and hanging in there with us. And thank you for your time. Much love and gratitude for all that you are, all that you do, and all that you choose to become. And we'll see you next week on Monday at 2 p.m. Much love.
See you all then. Thank you guys for joining us. Bye, Mark.